Till about World War II, most researchers just determined their own ethical standards for research. And for the most part, that worked out just fine. Most people are perfectly normal, moral human beings who would never want to do an unjust amount of harm to someone else. But obviously, some researchers didn't have much respect for human life and dignity, and that led to quite a lot of suffering in the past. In reaction to a lot of these more unethical studies, we've developed some pretty, comprehensive moral or ethical codes in modern research, such as the APA Ethics Code. But we didn't go from nothing to that. There was many steps along the way. Like one of the biggest milestones in ethical codes for conducting research is called the Nuremberg Code, which was in 1947. So this laid out 10 guidelines for the ethical treatment of human subjects in research. And what inspired the Nuremberg Code was World War II. After the war, people started realizing what had been going on during the wartime, and they uncovered some pretty horrendous experiments that had been done. And this conference, this convention, was a reaction to those kinds of inhumane things, such as intentionally inflicting head injury, freezing participants, infecting them with malaria, and exposing them to mustard gas, and so on. So some pretty terrible stuff was done. So here's the 10 ethical codes. So number 1, voluntary consent is essential. Participants must give consent. They cannot be compelled. Number 2, the results should be useful to society. So that goes back to something I was saying earlier. The benefits must outweigh the costs. Number 3, the experiment should be well based on prior knowledge. That goes back to another thing I was talking about earlier. The researchers, they need to be doing what people expect them to do. They need to not be wasting other people's time. Number 4, unnecessary suffering should be avoided. Once again, benefits have to outweigh the costs. Number 5, death or serious injury should not be a known risk of the study. Well, that just seems obvious, but obviously that kind of thing has to be said, otherwise people might do stuff like that, and they did do stuff like that, unfortunately. Number 6, the risks should not outweigh the benefits. So we're getting a little redundant here, but it's important to really spell this stuff out. Number 7, precautions should be taken to protect the participants. Number 8, researchers should be qualified scientists. Number 9, participants can choose to quit at any time. So they decide if they want to participate, and they decide if they want to quit. Makes sense. Then number 10, researchers must be prepared to quit the experiment at any time. So these 10 items in the Nuremberg Code made a huge difference to how we approach psychological research, or any research involving human participants. But this was just the beginning. Many things came shortly after that, such as the Declaration of Helsinki. This was in 1964, and this provided international ethical guidelines regarding human experimentation for medical research. And the fundamental principle of the Declaration of Helsinki is respect for the individual and his or her right to make informed decisions. So that goes back to that voluntary consent thing. And then in 1978, we had the Belmont Report, which identified 3 basic ethical principles for protecting human subjects. Number 1 is the principle of respect for persons. So that just refers to voluntary consent. It's being required to participate. Number 2 is the principle of beneficence. The researcher should do no harm. And number 3 is the principle of justice. participants should be selected, treated fairly. So these are three huge milestones for the treatment of human subjects. But there was also a lot going on at the same time regarding non-human subjects. Like, for example, the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, the SPCA. I'm sure you've heard of them before. They were established in 1866. This is a non-profit that deals with all kinds of animal abuse, not just research purposes, but they have played a big role in how animals are treated in research studies. More recently, in 1966, there was the Animal Welfare Act, which required animal dealers to be registered and licensed to make sure that these animal dealers are, treating the animals fairly and, humanely. Then there's the Office of Laboratory Animal Welfare, the OLAW. This oversees the care and use of animal research and public health services funded research. So you can see that there's a long list of different, committees, different research institutions, and so on that fall under this category. And then there's the American Association for Laboratory Animal Science, AALAS, established in 1950 as a forum for the exchange of information and expertise in the care and use of laboratory animals. So these are just committees that are all about trying to help each other treat animals in the best way possible, which obviously not only is good for the animals, but it also produces better results. You want your animals to be well kept so that they can, be good participants in your study. And then there's the American Association for Accreditation of Laboratory Animal Care, AAALAC. No, there's a lot of acronyms. Most of them are A's, but this was established in 1965. This endorses the use of animals to advance medical and science, medicine and science, when there's no non-animal alternatives. So these are like groups that advocate, obviously, for the use of animals. They sponsor the use of animals as long as it's being done in an ethical manner, because this can, animal research, it can definitely help to advance our understanding in various areas. And this particular group accredits institutions that demonstrate that they are achieving the standard outlined in the Guide for Care and Use of Laboratory Animals. And then there's more controversial groups, which aren't really official in any real regard, but have definitely played a big role. Like, I'm sure you've heard of PETA before, the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. They became well known in 1985 due to the Silver Spring Monkeys case. So basically what happened was the I forget his name right now, but the main PETA guy, like the founder of PETA, he got a job working in a research institution, Silver Spring Monkeys, it was in Silver Spring, and they were testing monkeys on a variety of different things. And what he observed working this part-time job were some pretty horrendous conditions. These animals were being tortured, and in many cases it seemed completely unnecessary how much harm was being done to the animals. So he documented this stuff, he wrote it all up, and then he did a big expose on it, and it caused a huge controversy. And that's pretty much how PETA operates on controversy. They try to show terrible images, they try to tell terrible stories to try to shock people into, recognizing that something terrible is happening. So PETA definitely has played a big role, but a lot of people have criticized them for their strategies, this kind of shock and controversy stuff that they tend to do. But all this stuff that I've mentioned, all these different committees and codes and stuff, this all has come together in modern times into what we now call the American Psychological Association's guidelines, the APA guidelines. those ethical guidelines for the use and treatment of human participants in research. And there's stuff in there about animals too. So the first set of guidelines for protecting subjects, human subjects, was in 1973, but this has been updated and expanded many times and periodically reviewed. And we'll get into details about what all those individual guidelines are in the next video.